All right, we back. Let's go to some of the callers.
Let's go to Glenn.
Glenn, what's up?
Well, I was listening to you. I didn't hear the whole program, so if I miss something, please put me in.
Okay, go ahead, Glenn.
The Supreme Court justices are to describe and interpret the original meaning of the U.S. Constitution. Is that correct?
Well, that is the purpose. Also, but understand how they interpret the Constitution is colored by their political beliefs. Because then when you talk about the right to privacy, what do they say it is? You know it when you see it? Huh? I didn't learn that in law school. It's called you know it when you see it. And my point being to you, let me just say this one thing, and I'm going to let you talk, Glenn, that many times your interpretation may be colored by your experience. But go ahead. I'm listening.
Well, I think it was that black guy, the Supreme Court justice before the current black guy on the
Thurgood Marshall.
Thurgood Marshall. I had a little teeny moment there.
That's okay. We all do.
He was the one that was mentioning that he can't explain it, can't define it, but he knows it when he sees it. I don't think that's the intention of the. I mean, it's actually supposed to be the Congress that is supposed to be making laws, not the judges. And by the way, just curious, when Mrs. Blackburn of the senator, I think she's a senator, asked the black woman that became the current judge when the old judge retired at the end of the summer, do you really think that she doesn't know what a woman is?
I think that was not necessary for her to elaborate, nor is that a requirement for any person to be a justice, is to define what a woman is. And you're referring to Justice Ketanji Brown. That is, listen, what a person's political beliefs, what their philosophical beliefs have nothing to do with their ability to be a justice.
I think there's a little bit more than just a political belief. She didn't want to explain what a woman does and what a woman is.
Nor should she be required to. You shouldn't have to explain why. Excuse me. You should not have to. Wait a minute. You should not have to explain being a man in order to have the job that you do. So why should she have to be explained to what a woman has to do to be a justice? Go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, I'm done. Go ahead. No, you were saying.
But the Supreme Court is supposed to describe the Constitution, and the Senate and the Congress is supposed to make law.
Okay.
And that's all they're supposed to do. They should not be making law, but the Congress, and they're clever, and there's a whole bunch of them over there, and they say, oh, we know how to do this. We'll just pass it over to the Supreme Court justices and they'll decide. So it isn't in the proper order of things, or the way it was established, the way it is currently, and something's really way out of whack, and really needs to be adjusted somehow.
Let me ask this to you, Glenn.
Bring it back in order.
Let me ask you this, Glenn. Do you favor this leaked opinion in the way that the justices may be going, if this is in fact accurate, to overrule Roe v. Wade? Do you think that's appropriate?
Well, it was a poor decision in the first place, but we have 50 states, and Michigan has a Michigan Supreme Court, and that is supposed to be where it's supposed to be at for Michigan.
So you do not believe that the federal government, You do not believe that the federal government should be involved with making a decision about the requirements or the legislation for abortions. You believe that should be a state decision?
Well, 50 years ago and 60 years ago and 70 years ago, that's the way it was, and that's the way that it was originally set up. But each state has a Supreme Court, and each state was and is supposed to be in charge of the state. We don't have a king, we don't have an emperor, we have 50 states. And they usually say that the closer you can be at home to make a decision, the better you are, as opposed to having someone way over in Washington, D.C. telling you what you can do from way over there. It should be one of your your neighbors, your citizens around you, your mayor, your governor, and whoever else is part of our government that we live under.
Well,
and
listen.
if you don't like Michigan, go to Wisconsin or Illinois or even Washington, D.C.
I get you. Listen, Glenn, we're going to talk more about the implications of Roe v. Wade next week, God willing. We've come to the bewitching time. Listen, mask up. You mothers, happy Mother's Day. Have a wonderful time. And until we meet again, I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Comment earlier.